Welcome to Roofing by the Square. I'm your host, Gilbert, and today we're joined by homeowner Randy Briggs, who recently partnered with Chaparosa Roofing for a full 30 square shingle re-roof. Today we're going to see how the project went, what it was like for Randy from beginning to end. Let's get down to business. Randy, could you start by introducing yourself and sharing where you're joining us from?
My name is Randy Briggs. I'm from Apple Valley, California.
That's awesome. And what prompted you to reach out to Chaparosa Roofing in the first place?
So my wife and I we moved back to the desert about a year ago, and the house that we purchased, the roof, it was kind of evident that it would need some work. So I actually reached out about a year prior to when we actually ended up going with getting the roof installed. So it had been on my mind for a while.
Okay, and before your re-roof began, what condition was your roof in? Like, were you dealing with leaks, like wear and
Right.
tear, or just general aging?
I think general aging. So the brittle test, as it was described on the, when they look over the house and everything like that, it failed that, right? So I said, okay, it's just an older roof. However, we had a weather event, a lot of wind and rain, and it tore off like a whole section of my roof. And so I said, okay, so now it's time to make a decision here and,
Yeah.
and start to call around and get some quotes.
And if I'm not mistaken, your project included a full re-roof with ventilation upgrades and a fascia replacement. Did Chaparosa explain this clearly at all?
Yes. So there was actually two roofs. Apparently there was a roof and then another roof on top of that one. So the whole process was explained pretty clearly to me. Mike was a gentleman who came over to quote the job and kind of gave a good set of expectations of like, hey, here's what you're looking at. And if you go with, these roofing materials here, it's going to require us to do the ventilation updates. So all of that from the outset was clear. And then a gentleman named Mark had come by to kind of do like a pre-inspection, I think. And, he had kind of pointed out a couple of areas where maybe some things weren't up to code that someone had done. And that's why we had to replace the fascia, because we ended up taking down some not so up to par patios.
Yeah.
But it was good advice, and I'm glad that we did that because it ensured a smooth process, especially when it comes to approval with the town. It helped make that go by pretty smooth.
And was there anything unexpected that came up during that process?
I think the patios were expected, but kind of unexpected. I could tell by kind of the way Mark was describing it and the research I had done up to that point before, calling anybody that, okay, we're probably gonna have to do this, but it was. I was expecting it, but still kind of unexpected. I thought maybe we could keep those up, but they had to go. They weren't up to par, so I think that was the one kind of big thing about the project where it was like, oh, we have to take care of this.
And were there any moments during that re-roof that really stood out to you? Like any portions from the crew, from the office staff?
Right. So so throughout the year, Chaparosa kept in touch with me. Hey, are you still thinking about this? And of course, it was always on my mind. So there was that kind of frequent contact, which I did appreciate the follow-ups. And then I just want to comment so I had actually gotten 3 quotes. I wanted to go with somebody local and somebody that was reputable, and that was Chaparosa had come up in conversations, and I had 2 other quotes. And when Chaparosa came out, Mike was the gentleman that came out, and I was impressed with kind of the whole transparency around everything, the financing, if we wanted to do that, the materials, like the whole process itself. When Mark came out again, the advice he gave, like, hey, if I were you, here's what to expect if you do this or if you don't do this. And even the guys who came out to work on the roof, they came out, I don't know the machine, but they brought this kind of machine that kind of went around the roof with them as they were taking things off. When they put everything on, they'd done it such a good job, and I could tell that they were paying attention to the details. So I think from A to Z, from the time Mike came in to talk to us about our options and kind of quote us for the roof itself, to when Mark came out to look at it, and when the crew came out to do the work, and the cleanup. I mean, of course, nothing's perfect, right? There's going to be some nails here and there, but I mean, the whole area around the house was fairly cleaned up of all the nails and other kind of like leftover things, and I was quite impressed with that too, actually. So the whole process itself, I was very impressed by.
And after the project was completed, what improvements in your roof did you notice?
One, I think it helped to keep in. Well, this was kind of at the end of summer, right? But it helped to keep in and help with the insulation. You know, I felt like the house was staying cooler longer. And just the look and feel, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
We don't have those like big twirly things anymore, right? So we have to update and do a new ventilation system, and it's kind of low profile.
Yeah. Okay.
And so with the new look of the tiles on the roof and the fascia and kind of the low profile of the vents, it all kind of came together. It looks really, really cool.
And we recently had some rain. You said your roof, when it was weather tested, your old one at least, all these things were flying all over the place. How does the new Chaparosa roof hold up?
All right, so the true test came just a few days later. It actually started raining then, and as you point out, like the past week, it's been crazy with the weather. So of course I looked around, looking at the roof. Hey, is there leaks anywhere?
Yeah.
It's held up beautifully. No concerns at all. Like everything's just like it was the day it was done. And so yeah.
If you're a homeowner and you're scared of the rain, Chaparosa's got you covered. For any homeowners considering a re-roof, what advice would you give them?
I think just try to understand the process. And I would say get a couple of quotes because, you know, like I said, I got 3 quotes. The Chaparosa wasn't the cheapest, but they weren't the most expensive. They're kind of like fit right there in the middle. But I felt like that their Chaparosa added the most value of any of the other contractors I had talked to. So I would say just ask good questions, be prepared, and maybe get a couple of quotes. Yeah.
And in your opinion, what qualities should someone look for when considering a roofing company?
Ooh, transparency. Transparency is a big one. And it depends if someone needs to finance the project as well. You know, one of the quotes I had gotten was from a kind of a local mom and pop, so to speak, and you know they didn't have that ability to offer financing. So if that's something that you're looking for, you know, it's Chaparosa made it easy, right? So I think that was an important part of the decision making process as well.
Well, Randy, this was wonderful.
All right.
Thank you so much for doing this, man.
Thank you, Gilbert. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me over.
Awesome. For any of our listeners out there considering a re-roof or a repair, visit chaparosa.com today and see why homeowners across Southern California trust Chaparosa.